You're watching Gourmet at Home. My name is Amrish. Today I will be preparing a recipe of Rara Soya, and this recipe really takes me back to my training days in Delhi, where Rara Ghost is a must-have item in every banquet function. And if you have cooked this recipe in your kitchen, it really trains you well in mutton-based recipes, because this recipe used to be a base of most of the mutton curries. The word Rara, for me, it means cooking on a slow flame or sauteing on a slow flame. That is what we call Rardna in Punjabi. But there is another theory to this name. There is a Punjabi chef. He used to run a restaurant on a highway in Himachal Pradesh. This dish was named after him. I have applied the same cooking methodology in this recipe. So let's start making the recipe of Rara Soya. For this recipe of Rara Soya, I will be using soya, and I have got three different shapes of soya with me here. I have got a soya on the sticks, that is a soya chaap. Then I have got the soya chunks and the soya mince. Along with that, I have got some grated onions, tomatoes, hung curd, ginger, garlic, chili powder, cumin seeds, coriander powder, turmeric powder, kasuri methi, and some garam masala. So let's start making the recipe of Rara Soya. The pan is hot. Let's add some cooking oil. And followed by, I will add whole garam masala. So I have got bay leaves, cinnamon, cardamom, and I will add some cloves. After the whole spices, let's add some cumin seeds. Followed by, I will add grated onions. After the onions, I will add 1 teaspoon of salt and allow the onions to cook until they are golden brown. In Indian cuisine, if we observe, the ingredients that we use are more or less same, like onion, ginger, garlic, tomatoes or curd to prepare the base masala or the curries. But the way we process them and the equipment in which we cook them makes a lot of difference in the end product. When we talk about spices, especially in the coastal part of India, we prefer to use wet blend of spices. In northern India, we add whole spices to the oil, or we use the powdered spices. Specifically, what I have observed in Punjabi cuisine, they prefer to use coarse blend of spices, because that gives a nice robust characteristics to the masala or to the gravies. Also in Punjabi cuisine, they prefer to have masalas which are thick in texture so that your bread or your chapati can hold them well. The onions are translucent. At this stage, I will add some crushed garlic along with some grated ginger and will continue cooking for another 5 minutes. Now you can see at this stage the garlic is almost sauteed with the onion, but it is still not brown in color. I want the garlic to be slightly raw because that gives a nice flavor and a characteristics to the Punjabi gravies. After the garlic, I will add coriander powder. So I have added approximately 3 teaspoons of coriander powder, followed by 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder and 1.5 teaspoon of chili powder. We will mix the masala and continue cooking for another 3 to 4 minutes. After sauteing the spices, I will add hung curd. And if you have noticed, in my most of the recipes, I always prefer to use hung curd because it gives a nice creamy texture to the gravy. Also, when we separate the whey, it controls that acidity and that sourness in the base gravy. After mixing the curd or the hung curd with the masala, I will add fresh tomato puree and continue cooking for another 8 to 10 minutes. Now we can see the oil has started coming on the sides and towards the center of the cooking pot. At this stage, I will add soya keema. Mix it with masala. And cook it for 5 minutes. After the soya keema, I will add soya chunks. And I have soaked soya chunks, soya keema and the chaap an hour before I started cooking this recipe. After cooking the soya chunks and soya keema for at least 10 minutes, I will add soya chaap. I will remove the sticks from this, otherwise the stick will break inside the masala. And we'll apply the same process, or we'll continue cooking for another 5 minutes. After adding the soya chaap, we'll gently mix it with the masala so that the soya chaap can absorb all the flavors. Followed by, I will add water. Now at this stage, I will increase the flame and continue cooking for another 8 to 10 minutes. After cooking the soya rada for almost 10 minutes, let's finish the soya rada with some fresh coriander, green chilies, garam masala powder, and some fenugreek leaves. Towards the end, I will add 2 small spoons of desi ghee. Now we will cover the pot, turn off the flame and allow it to rest for 10 minutes before we enjoy soya rada. After resting the curry for 5 minutes, let's serve the soya rada. Let's garnish it with some fresh coriander, garam masala and some dry fenugreek leaves. If you have carefully noticed, I have cooked onion, tomatoes, ginger, garlic, spices for a long time, and I have added them at different stages. Followed by, I have added the soya in 3 different parts. This is what happens in real recipe of Rara Ghost. So first you add keema, which gives a nice flavor and a texture to the masala. Followed by you add pieces of meat, and then you add pieces of meat with bone, and then you cook them on a slow flame. I am sure this recipe will surprise the palates of vegetarians. Do try this recipe in your kitchen, and looking forward to see you again in our next segment of Gourmet at Home.